Welcome to Trustee Talk. Thank you for joining us. I'm Dick Murgatroyd, and our guest today is the president of the Anderson Township Trustees, Andrew Pappas. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Seems like it wasn't too long ago that we were together.
Time flies.
It does.
It does.
When you're having a good time.
We're having a good time.
And you're having a good time?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
It's been an interesting time. We have as every trustee talk, you guys have been mentioning the development we have.
Yep.
And things are rocking and rolling here in Anderson Township,
Well,
and
they
it makes
are.
the time fly by.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. I know there's a couple of things you want to talk about today. One is the levy.
Proposed
the public
levy.
Service,
Yes.
proposed levy. It's
Yes.
a proposed levy
Yes.
for the November election.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
Well, we not everything's fun in
No.
games, and we have to talk serious numbers. We just got done with our interim planning meeting that we have every year. That was a marathon session from 9 o'clock in the morning to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, discussing everything township related and finances and what our priorities are and what directions we're going to go in. And one thing that became readily apparent is we have a public safety levy that was passed in 2008 that had approximately a 5-year lifespan associated with it. That levy has now been stretched into its 8th year through different means that we have, taking money from here instead of passing another levy. Part of the problem with that levy initially was the numbers it was based on as our costs in 2008 actually went up in 2009 by 20%. So immediately at the institution of that levy, a 5-year levy, really due to the increased cost, probably then became a 3-year levy. So the fact that we've been able to postpone a public safety levy for this amount of time is a testament to our staff and to the leadership that we've had in the township.
Well, because you did a lot of things in that interim, as I understand, that helped to mitigate that increase.
We've taken a lot of extraordinary steps. For example, we've eliminated some positions. We eliminated an assistant chief and a firefighter paramedic in 2012, saved us about $200,000 a year. We collaborated with the Village of Newtown and combined services, and now are running services out of their fire station. And for that, we get about $500,000 a year from the Village of Newtown. That's a significant amount of money.
Absolutely.
We've also, by doing that, we would have had to replace the fire station where those people were located at a tune of about $4 million. So that's something we don't have to do. So through sound fiscal policies, we've been able to mitigate the fact that the costs went up so quickly right after the levy passed and help stretch that levy out. However, looking at the budget and looking at our finances, we feel that it's not appropriate to borrow from TIF funds to cover shortfalls.
Yeah.
We should probably, you should pay for what you're getting, and you should know what you're paying for.
Well, and in addition to that, those costs won't go away. I mean, with just one, you borrow that money, you cover it for a short time, but you're still going to have those issues are still going to be there for you.
Yeah, and
especially in that area.
Well, I think our fundamental responsibility is public safety.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is the core. Schools are great, and schools are another core requirement of a community. However, if it's not safe, safety is our core government responsibility.
Well, and everybody is affected by it in the community.
Especially, we've delved into a little bit, some of the last trustee talks that we've had, we've delved into the heroin epidemic, and it is truly an epidemic. Again, anyone affected by heroin, if you could go to injecthope.com, all the resources available in Hamilton County are for you on that website. You can get questions answered, but the heroin epidemic is driving so much of the crime. My fellow trustee Josh Girth is chair of a Much in Common group.
We talked a little bit about that last time.
Yeah, and it's a great organization. My hat's off to Josh for doing that. It is something that, as I talk to more and more police, Tom Sinan from Newtown is deeply involved in that and really a leader. We have the heroin problem is driving 90% of the crime waves. I mean, 90% of the crime problem you can trace back in some way, shape, or form to heroin because it's so cheap and it's so affordable and available that we have to take steps by having now our paramedics and our police now carry Narcan for people that overdose. Well, it's not cheap.
No.
That's an increased cost that gets passed along to us as providing the services.
Plus the fact that you're adding more work onto the force that you have without expanding the force.
Well, correct. You usually, a paramedic, a firehouse would be standing by for fires or accidents or emergencies at your house. You fell down, you need transportation to the hospital. Now, and although drugs are included on that, what do you do now with people that overdose 1, 2, 3, 4 times a month,
Yeah.
or maybe not that often, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, we're making the same runs over and over. Those cost us money.
Well, and probably making more runs.
Yes, because the
just in
epidemic
general,
is so
because
widespread.
of the epidemic, yeah.
It's everywhere. It's a national problem. How we solve it is up for much discussion. There's even been some discussion about whether or not distributing Narcan is a good idea. Well, I think saving lives is first and foremost in any government or anyone's responsibility. I'm not here to say that, no, we shouldn't be dispersing Narcan. I mean, your first job as a human being is to save a life.
Absolutely.
If you can. So these are costs, as I said, and we just want the citizens to be aware of the services that you're getting so that you know what you're paying for. And then you can vote, do you want that service or do you want us, because quite frankly, we've cut just about everything there is to cut without cutting services. At some point, the residents will be deciding if you want to cut services or pass a levy. And I am, safety is just one of the core components of government. It is what we should be doing.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken too, somewhere in that period of time, things changed as far as the cost that you guys incurred just with the sheriff's office and a few things like that.
Yeah, when the new sheriff came in,
Yeah.
and the old sheriff went out, what was happening is that some of the costs were actually being subsidized by other townships, and that's not right either.
No.
We should know what we're paying for. Currently, Anderson is one of the I don't know how many communities here in Cincinnati, but we're one of the townships that fund a renew officer. Now that's Regional Narcotics Unit, and that's great because that's one of the core problems we're facing nowadays, but that costs money. Now some of that we get back through drug forfeitures and
Yeah.
asset seizures, but again, that's
Just smattering.
it offsets some of the cost
Yeah.
of that, but not 100%.
Right.
So we're spending money for a renew officer, which makes our neighborhood safer, but it costs us more money. And people, maybe people will say through the vote that they don't want the renew officer. I don't know. Something else that we're doing, safety at our schools is paramount. And right now, the township is funding the school resource officer. And we have no intention of cutting that back. But a lot of people think that, that's a school issue. Well, actually, the township's paying for that because it's a sheriff. So it's one of the things that was on the original public safety levy in 2008, but then the cost went up significantly, and we still stood by our obligation to pay for that. So citizens just need to know what we're paying for and then tell us through voting if they want to support that or not. I think that through our collaboration and our communication with the residents as to what we're doing and what we've been doing, that people will say, you know what, we value safety above everything else.
I think you will too. I think because it's something they really can relate to and they can touch and they are affected by.
Fires.
I don't think people mind paying for something that they literally know that if it wasn't there.
You want to pick up the phone and you want to know that if you need help, whether it's police or fire, that someone's going to be there
Exactly.
in a quick in timely fashion.
Exactly.
Not only that, I'll say this, I see our firefighters. There was a fire just 2 weeks ago off of Bernie Lane that as I was driving to work, I saw the lights and I pulled in and I saw our guys. And they saved the structure, the car in the garage. For some reason, they speculate the fire started in the garage. I think it was 4 o'clock in the morning. The garage was engulfed in flames. It was an attached garage, but through the quick action and professional action of our firefighters, the structure, the house was saved. You know, a lot of people say, well, you know, we don't have that many fires anymore. They still occur.
Yeah,
I mean, things overheat. God knows we have everything that plugs in nowadays and takes a charge. And you know, those little hoverboards, they were causing fires at some point. I think that's been fixed now. You have one of those, don't you?
No, I gave mine up.
I could see you just cruising around the house.
It'd be perfect, right?
But you know, the dangers are still out there, and I have a business right on Beachmont. You know that.
Yeah.
Right across from our main fire station on Beachmont. The thing that's staggering is I was coming back to, because I was there at 6:30 at the fire, maybe 6:15. I don't sleep anymore. But anyway, the point is that I got to my business. As I'm getting to my business, well, there goes another ambulance run to an accident. We live on one of the busiest streets in Cincinnati. We have car accidents all the time. You want to have timely and professional medical assistance when there might be a fender bender, or you know, you require some medical attention. You just don't know. But our guys stay very, very busy. So I want to make sure we have the best public safety that we can provide for the buck. I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to be spending money where we don't need to be.
No, but that also is a major piece of the overall success of Anderson Township and a community. And when people are looking at where they want to live, I'm sure that's one of the key.
Need I remind you that a neighborhood here in Cincinnati, very recently in the news, couldn't afford to pay the sheriff.
Exactly.
And lost police protection for a certain period of the day.
Yeah.
And due to some knowledge that I have as far as utility work being done in that area, when the police were called off, meaning if the police weren't there between 12 and 4, utility work didn't take place between 12 and 4 because the utility workers said, I'm not working in that neighborhood if there's not going to be a police presence in case something happens. Yeah,
well, and that's a factor. I mean, that's what it's all about. And in fact, plus the fact, I mean, do you not, because in your case, you don't have your own police department.
No, we don't.
You are basically outsourcing it to the sheriff.
We hire the sheriff.
But that's also saves you money.
It does.
I mean, if you were trying to also fund a police department and all of the equipment that goes with
infrastructure
and the infrastructure that goes with that, your costs would be, I'm sure, greater than what you are experiencing.
We have looked at it because it would be irresponsible if we didn't. We have looked at it, and in the current economic situation and the amount that we're paying, it is more economical for us to use Hamilton County for our services.
Absolutely.
If that changes, Sheriff, you know, we always look at that because, you know, one day the policing costs have gone up substantially.
Oh yeah, they have.
Costs have gone up, go on down the line. However, it's still more economical for us to contract with Hamilton County.
I would think it would be. I would think it would be. I mean, I think I mean, on my side of the river over in Kentucky, we look at all the police departments that we have in some of those small communities.
It's a staggering cost.
Are trying to maintain that, and it really eats them up.
Well, that's the first thing that we've seen around Cincinnati, the different townships, the different areas that had their own police force, police department. When the money gets short, the first thing they do is look at cutting their police force or subsidizing it with Hamilton County. You know, volume brings savings. Hamilton County has the infrastructure there that they don't have to build it from scratch. It's there. And I'm very, very pleased with the level of service that we get from Hamilton County. They do a great job and they're very professional, and I've had no complaints. As a matter of fact, since I've been in office, I've received nothing but compliments on our police and fire, by the way. Our fire. Now, we do have our own fire department.
Yeah, but I think that again, it goes back to if that wasn't there, if you didn't have that service there, it would affect people wanting to live in this community and wanting to bring their businesses to this community.
And everyone right now, it seems like everybody wants to live
And
here.
everybody wants to, well, they do because we've talked about this before, but because you all do a good job,
Thank you.
of managing the funds and you have the fiscal
Our
responsibility.
staff gets all the credit for that.
And but they do a good job.
They do a great
And that's what makes it a place that people want to come to, and you can see it. I mean, you look at all that's going on. So, I mean, are you getting a lot of feedback on this levy at this point, as far as?
Nothing yet. We've asked the auditor to certify a couple of different amounts, and we're going to look at, I'd like to solve this for a reasonable period of time. I don't think it's right to keep coming back and back and back,
No.
but also I don't want to stretch it so long that it puts an undue burden on people as well. So we're looking at a couple of different amounts, and we'll have that discussion in our trustee meetings, which are open to the public, and if anyone has comments, please come. But we're looking at a couple of different levy amounts to put on the ballot so that people know, and they'll have some feedback, and I'm sure there'll be letters to the editor and articles in the paper, and I welcome that because we need to hear from the residents what you want. It's not, we can make suggestions and we can tell you what we think, but really the voters will decide. It'll be on the ballot. It'll be a ballot item, and the people will vote it up or down.
So it will be on the ballot in November?
I'm virtually sure it will be on the ballot.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's not something you can sweep under the carpet. It's
Kicking the can down the road is
It's not
not
gonna-
something that
no.
I got elected to do.
well, and it's not going to solve the problem.
No, it's irresponsible to pretend that it doesn't exist. And we were elected, as we said, you and I have had discussions. There's a lot of good things in Anderson, but sometimes you got to make some hard decisions and
Absolutely,
put your big boy pants on.
absolutely. You do, and you know what? I find that for the most part, people understand that. I think if it's something, again, that they can see
Mhm.
and they can experience, it's not, and it affects everybody. It's not just a few people that are impacted. Then it's a different story. But
Right. And we've had to make, not every decision that we make is easy.
yeah, if it were, you wouldn't be there.
I love being a trustee. I love doing what I'm doing. There's some other things on the horizon, but who knows? However, I will say this. Sometimes we have to do things. For example, we've had some turnover at the Parks Board, which we as trustees, and we'll delve into that subject. And we've had some questions from residents about why we may have either not reappointed somebody or gone in a different direction. I know that Nadine Geltner and Dale Bartholomew did wonderful service for the Parks Board for years and years. I believe they were both on there for close to 16 years. But I will say this, that we are the elected officials that appoint those people, and we go through an interview process where I think at each position, we had 3 positions come up, 1 and then 2 others. I think we had 5 or 6 candidates at each one. And sometimes just because someone has been there for 16
Right.
years doesn't necessarily mean they're the best candidate at that time for the job. I think that some turnover, some new perspectives, some new energy is helpful.
Yeah.
To stay status quo doesn't really move the ball down the field. I will say that we have heard ad nauseum, we've talked about beach acres. We've also heard from residents with some concerns of some of the development ideas of Johnson Park that has been getting a lot of attention at trustee meetings and park board meetings. So as trustees, we have to decide, it's not all fun, and it wasn't an easy decision that we came to replace 2 people that have worked so diligently and so hard for such a long period of time. However, after the interview process and discussion among the trustees, we felt like, it's time to go maybe in a little bit different direction. And we have to be, as the party that's elected, we have to be responsible to the voters.
Right.
And we've been hearing feedback. I mean, I get emails all the time about either a park meeting or a school. Now, we don't, the school board is their own entity, the park board is their own separate entity. However, the difference is, school board is elected.
Right.
Park board is appointed by
Appointed
us.
by
So
you
if someone
guys,
has
yeah.
a complaint, they'll go
Goes
to
back to you.
Well, they'll go to the park board first, and if they feel like that complaint isn't either heard or not addressed appropriately, guess who hears about it?
You do.
I do. And I'm not saying that that was the case in this. I'm not saying that drove it at all. However, some of the candidates, you know, there was a time when those two individuals were appointed to the board for their first
Right.
time. I don't know that there was public gnashing of teeth and outcry of how did you not reappoint this? Maybe there was. I just wasn't around then. I couldn't tell you. But I will say that I think that there's an argument to be made that new perspective, you know, one of the individuals we appointed is not only a new resident, but he has a degree in that field from a university. And it's nice to have some people with a younger family with kids that might have a different perspective of what the needs are from
Absolutely.
that perspective.
Absolutely.
I'd love to see, you know, we had some candidates we had one candidate in particular that was older, and he came from the perspective of, you know, why are we not, now I hope he gets involved and stays involved, and you know, for the two people for Dale and Nadine, I will say this, they can still be on the Parks Foundation and provide as much, you know, help.
Still have input.
Still have input.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wish they do. I hope that they do. But I'll say that one of the candidates was an elderly gentleman that is retired, and he was asking the trustees during his interview, you know, why don't we have more programs for the elderly? Why is everything geared towards the families with kids, you know, soccer camp or whatever the case may be? And kind of had a great point. You know, we are such a diverse community. We have a sizable number of elderly residents, and you know, maybe that's an idea that I impressed upon him to go to the Parks Board meeting, the next one. I think there was one last night, and you know, raise those concerns,
Yeah.
because that's a segment of the population we need to address.
Well, you do, because of the fact there's more they're living longer, they're more active longer.
Yeah. Well, we
And-
just did the senior center.
Well, yeah.
Now that was yet another thing.
Where are
I didn't know we
on
were
that
going
at this
to.
point?
We'll
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah.
Do I have the script on that? No, I don't. But here, the senior center just got dropped in our laps. I mean, the company that was
Yeah.
running it decided. I think was it Josh or Dee? I can't remember who you talked
I think
about.
Josh, I think Josh talked about it first. I think we talked about it.
The senior center company that was running it decided, private entity, decided that nationally they weren't going to be in that business anymore. And they gave us about 30 days of a warning that they were going to be pulling out. So we had a full room upstairs. We had the dividers open. We had a full room of seniors there. And God bless them. They were all very supportive. And we're not going to leave them in a lurch. They rely on the senior center
Absolutely.
in a big way.
Absolutely.
Matter of fact, I had another email today to my inbox, and you know, we're going to address the gentleman's concerns. So, you know, companies that run senior centers are not. You don't just pull out the yellow pages
No.
and start flipping through to
Few and far between.
few and far between.
Yeah.
So we looked at maybe hiring another company to see if anyone was interested. Well, you got to, you know, put proposals or ask if they're interested, and we didn't get a whole lot of feedback on that. We did get some residents that said, hey, listen, I'll start running the senior center, but you know, is that something that I want to turn over to somebody that maybe isn't in the business?
No, well, you got to be careful.
run a
on that.
risk.
Yeah, you do. You run a risk.
So through our great staff here at the township, we were able to do kind of a mishmash of us taking over a portion of it, yet some other private entities taking over a portion of it, and hopefully everything comes together in such a fashion that there's going to be no change in services. There might be a tweak here or a tweak there, but you know, that's going to cost us a significant amount of
I was
money.
just going to say that's going to be a new
It's a new expense
expense for
that
you.
we did not have budgeted, but we'll figure it out. But again, I'm not here to leave seniors in the lurch and just say, well, the company went out of business, we're closing the senior
Yeah,
center.
you
That's just
can't
not
do
going to
that.
happen. Well, it's irresponsible.
It is, and the fact that there's a huge need, and you know, out there. I mean, I think, and they've got to depend on that.
They're
big time.
they're just as much a part of this community as anybody
Certainly,
else. They
they
pay
are.
the same taxes as you and I. They're no less of a member of this community than you and I. They have every right to expect that the services that were provided there, whether it be a private entity or the township doing it, to say, you know what, we have a need of this service. And as public servants of this community, we have a responsibility to provide that service if possible. And due to our staff, and I will take our hats off to the staff, this wasn't the trustees thinking of this solution. This was our staff here being very fleet on their feet and thinking outside the box and looking to solve the problem rather than point fingers. I mean, quite easily, our staff or the township could have taken the position that, oh well, senior services is out of business, there's nothing we can do, close
Right.
the building down. It's
Yeah,
not,
you can't
that's,
do it, no.
well, that's not what our job is. Our
No.
job is to, when faced with problems, is to solve them.
Right.
So we thought outside the box a little bit, and we've adapted. And to have a problem, that's the nice thing about the township form of government.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, think about it. If you had an issue that was presented to you and you had 30 days notice, there's not many government agencies that I know of
No.
that could react as quickly. And this is on top of, we have, as we've discussed ad nauseum, we have so much development going on here in the township. We still have the same number of staff. They're still up there plugging away. We haven't hired new staff. So they've got all that stuff, and then the senior center gets dropped in their laps. I mean, they had to juggle a lot of balls. And, I see the time that people sent emails. It's well after business hours. And I see the dedication during special events or weekend events or evening events. There was something here the other night with some children at a fundraiser, and just on their own time, some of our staff was here helping out. I mean, we have great staff.
You do. You really do.
It's a testament to the township, it's a testament to the administration, and they need all the credit for it.
We're about out of time, but I want to just wrap up a couple of things. If anybody has any questions on this levy, is there someplace they can go? I mean, to a website or something?
Well,
that
what they're going to
or
first see,
meetings coming
yeah,
up?
I mean, come to the trustee meetings. You're going to see a lot of information discussed at the trustee meetings as far as why, what, and the amounts. And we're very sensitive to raising taxes, but at the end of the day, we have a responsibility to provide safety services to the township.
And there's a good article in the most recent
Insights.
Anderson Insights that really pretty much lays out what all you've done and why there is still a need. So that's a good place to go.
It's a
also.
great publication,
It is.
and we discussed even, as I said at our interim planning session, we discussed this publication and ways that we might be able to reduce costs to it by combining with maybe the schools and the parks and putting one instead of everyone having their separate one. But we're always thinking of ways to save money and looking for ways to save money. But this publication, we get so much positive feedback
Oh,
for. It's
wow.
done so well.
It is. It's well done, and you all. I mean, if there's any questions on anything, usually it's in here.
Remember, if anyone has a hard question, call Josh. And if you have an easy question
Call
or a
you.
compliment, just call me. That's fine.
Yeah, it's Andrew, right?
That's
Call
correct.
Andrew, yeah.
Or D. You can
Or D.
Or D.
Call D.
For the hard ones.
Lots of good information
A lot of good things going on.
and an exciting time.
It is an exciting
and
time.
with everything, good, bad. I mean, that's all part of it. That's what makes it click. So thank you for your service, sir, and also for being here.
Well, I enjoy, look, one of the things I hear from people about Trustee Talk is they like watching it. They like streaming it online, getting the video, and they get a lot of information. You do a great job at it, and we can't thank you enough.
Well, I'm happy to do it, and it is true. I mean, it's an opportunity where people can get a little more in depth, and I think they get to know you better.
They do.
Yeah, some
If
of
they
them may
want
not to. Some of them may cross the street when they see it. For the most part.
Remember, if you can't sleep, we're here
Look for
24/7.
Anyway, I look forward to our next venture. In the meantime, thank you very much.
If I come back.
Yeah, well, I'll find you. Thank you for joining us and sharing your day with us here on Trustee Talk, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. And on behalf of our producer, director, Shane Reiner. We invite you to join us for our next Trustee Talk, and believe our guest at that time will be Dee Stone. So until then, have a great week and take care.